know it's
Oh,
okay. I think
we're live.
Oh, well done. Well done. Celebration today.
Celebration. Yeah. Happy Friday, Linda.
Yes, happy Friday, Connie. Looking forward to our Friday chat today. It's going to be another interesting one, talking about a couple of things I'm really interested in. One, I know something about, the other, I don't know very much about. So which one?
And vice versa. So, do we wanna reveal the mystery?
Let's reveal the mystery. Yeah. So today we're talking about two of our favorite kind of self-analysis, self-awareness tools. Mine is called the Enneagram. You may be familiar with that. It's and I'm not a big fan of personality typing kind of things, you know, putting you in a box. But for me, the Enneagram tells us more about our energy and what drives us and why we're drawn to the things we are and why we think the way we do. And it also shows us how to become a healthier version of whatever type we are. There are 9 basic types within the Enneagram. And I'll share a little bit about that I could talk about my type and a couple of others, but I've just found it to be so incredibly helpful, helping me to understand myself on a much deeper level and make choices that are better for me and everybody around me. But I also use it with the clients I work with because it helps me know how to be able to help them, as well as helping them understand themselves too. And Connie, what's your favorite one?
Well, everything that you said, exactly what you said, for me, it is astrology. So, and like in the mainstream news and so, astrology is only like where the sun was when we were born, but there's so much more to astrology. And so I definitely feel, just like you said, it is for me a tool for self-discovery. So it's like it explains a lot of things, but what we have to be careful with astrology is like, just because the chart shows a certain picture, there is millions of ways how we can express what is in a chart. So that doesn't mean when I see a chart, I know right away, oh, this person is cluttered or not. So like this, because this would be probably one of the questions, and that is not true, because there is so many different ways how we can express ourselves. But when you start looking into it, you get to know yourself so much better. If I can look at a client's chart, I can see a lot of maybe tendencies, or I can see struggles that they could have. And then I can ask and say, wow, how do you feel about this? Or how does this show up in your life? And we can maybe with this come to, it's like a tool to just, sometimes could even be a little bit of a shortcut. And I could imagine the Enneagram is similar. You don't have to explore the whole thing. You can basically take a slice out of it and start there. It's like an entry point to helping the client maybe in a little bit more customized way. So yeah. Whatever you all said about the Enneagram, that's the astrology for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, I've had my astrological chart done a couple of times in the past, and I know just from our conversations that you use it in a different way. So I'm really kind of interested and curious about that. If I can just share an example with the Enneagram, and I'll share how it's helped me. So I discovered that I'm a number 2 on the Enneagram, which is the helper type personality. And it's really been profound understanding that on a deeper level, because what it means is not just that I like to help people, but it means that as a 2, and most 2s are like this, I mean, there are always variables, because we are all so unique. And that's why, you know, you can go into it in a much deeper way, but generally speaking, yeah. So as a helper type personality, what I discovered is it doesn't just mean I like to help people, which I do, and I always will, because that's who I am. But what it meant was that I can have a tendency to help people at the expense of myself, and to focus on others instead of knowing what it is that I need. I can know what somebody else needs, but connecting with what's really important to me has been really hard. Now, this is why it's been so helpful, because understanding that has helped me learn how to start connecting with myself, so that I'm not helping others at the expense of myself, but instead I'm helping others from a place of strength and understanding myself. And it's, it's interesting for it too, because it's like this compulsion. You can't not help. And literally, I've been in meetings before as I started to understand this, and they're asking for volunteers for this and for that, and I'm sitting on my hands and I'm just making myself not say anything, because I always used to be the person, I'll do that. Oh yeah, I can do that, and then I would find myself doing all these things, and it wasn't necessarily in my best interest, and then I would become depleted, and all of these things.
And your calendar will be cluttered,
right,
like with all kinds of stuff.
But it came from a place of it just really intrinsically felt like that's what I had to do. It's like a compulsion to help. And the challenge with that also can be that you start helping people when they haven't even asked you for help. And you're doing it from a place of, oh, this person's struggling, so they must need my help, right? No, not necessarily. Sometimes people have a problem and they just want to share it with you. They don't need you to try and fix it for them. So it's really, really helped me to understand where that's coming from and to start to change it, so that it's a much, much healthier way of helping without losing myself in it.
Yeah, and that's what I love, for example, about astrology too. And there's other ways how we can just get to know ourselves much better. And once we understand such a trait that we have, we can be more compassionate. So one of my mentors always says, like, you look at your chart, like she talks astrology, so you look at your chart and you fall in love with yourself, because you start seeing where these things come from. Like for you, this wanting to help, you see where it comes from, and that it comes from a good place, but that sometimes you have to take back, because in Switzerland, for example, we have a saying that too much good is too much. It's like sometimes too much good can fall into the opposite. Like we can impose, and I think you even talked about this in another Facebook Live once, that you impose almost your help and realize then, oh, this person doesn't even want my help. Sometimes people don't want the help, and then you impose, and then instead of them beating yourself up, which creates then a lot of mental clutter, you oh, wait a second, I did this thing again that I have to just be aware of, and like balance out with not being so
I know. When I first started my coaching business, and what I found very often was that I was more invested in someone's progress than they were. And I knew they just do this, and and they've come to me for help, right? So they were asking me for help, so they must want the help. They must want things to change. And I knew very clearly, oh, well, if you just do these things, this is what's going to help you. And then they wouldn't necessarily do it, or they might do part of it and then fall off. And that really confused me. And I would just be thinking, oh, what have what is it I need to do to really help them? And I eventually realized that it was because I was more invested in their progress than they were. And that sets up a very, very unhealthy pattern, especially for the helper, because you can wear yourself out trying to help somebody who actually can't be helped or doesn't truly want to be helped.
I feel too, you're not coming from a I say clean for the lack of a better word, but you're not coming from a clean place. Like if you're like wanting it more for them than they want it, I don't think that is our job when we help somebody.
No,
absolutely not. Our job is to point out certain things, to possibly give suggestions how they could solve it. But it's not, we don't have to take over the responsibility or even the eagerness that they have to do then what we're suggesting, or that they have to do anything at all. And as somebody who is always about the doing also, it can be very frustrating when we're realizing that we're just kind of talking into thin air and nothing happens, you know?
Yeah, well, I tell people now, I can't want this more than you do. And so, I can share with you and I can help you go inside to find your own answers, but I can't do it for you, and I can't take responsibility for you, and I can't want it more than you do. So, valuable lessons I've learned, but, the Enneagram has been just an incredibly helpful tool in helping me understand that and make those changes.
And I love that we find the tools that work for us. It's like, I did look into the Enneagram. I do know a little bit about it. I also know that there is different philosophies around it. So like I saw that different, and it's the same in astrology. It's like, and I love this, that it's not so just put in a box. That's what a lot of people might be worried about too, is like, oh, if I see their chart, that I can put them in a box. And it's absolutely not that way. We have, like I said, we have millions of ways how to express ourselves. There is always a higher road and a lower road how to express something. And maybe when we see something that we express maybe more on a lower road, like for example, when somebody, to talk a little bit of astrology, like you said, with a 2, it's a lot of helper. If somebody has a lot of fire in their chart, they might come across very strong or very bold, sometimes very, very blunt, maybe. By knowing that about yourself, you can maybe better regulate it. And that's more about it. Like we can become very aggressive and be like, this is maybe not necessarily how I want to show up, but we also don't want to put the fire out completely. So it's kind of like finding the right way. It's similar with the helping. It's not that you shouldn't be helping people and that you shouldn't want to help people.
You do it from a healthy place.
You have to do it in a healthy way. And there is kind of like a lever where it gets too much when it's unhealthy and too little where it's unhealthy.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing I like about the Enneagram, and certainly what I've studied with the Enneagram. It shows you, okay, this is what an unhealthy 2 looks like. These are the kinds of things you'll be doing. And this is what it looks like when you've made some progress and you're kind of improving. And this is what a healthy 2 really looks like. And so you have something to work towards too, and you have ideas about things that you can do. And the thing is, there's a quote that says awareness is the beginning of all wisdom, or self-awareness is the beginning of all wisdom. And it is so true. You have to know yourself at the deepest levels. Know as much about yourself, know what impacts you, know what energizes you, know what drains you, know why you feel drawn to certain things, why you feel compulsion to do certain things. The more you know about that, the better. And that's what helps you to really live in a healthy way.
Yeah. And also it's like when the more you know about yourself, you also can and sometimes you have to actually do something, because we can't just process everything in our brain. Sometimes we have to try something out to really see whether it works for us or not. But then once you know, then you can also like help yourself. Like if we want to talk about decluttering, once you know that you're easily distractible, then you can set up your environment in a way when you want to declutter or when you want to work or focus on something, that you're not getting so distracted, which somebody else who is not easily distracted doesn't need to do. But when you know this about yourself, you can support yourself better by setting up your environment in a way that so that you actually can stay on the high road.
So you minimize your distractions, or have strategies for what happens when something comes along that does distract you, so you can
and there's the awareness that helps you then, because then maybe all of a sudden you clue off, oh, wait a second, now I'm doing exactly again, getting distracted again, what I didn't want. And then you come up with strategies to prevent that in the future.
Well, one of the most valuable things I learned in what when people want me to be involved with something or want me to help with something, it's not that I'm going to say no to everything or just, not volunteer for anything. It's not that. But what I've learned to do, and this has been a really valuable strategy for me, and it's the most simple thing, is that when something comes up or when I'm asked something, is to learn to give myself time, just to pause and either say to someone, let me think about it, I'm going to get back to you. Because I not only have to think about, I have this little mantra that I say to myself now, just because I can doesn't mean I should. Just because I can do this doesn't mean I should do it. I have to think about time. Do I have the time? Do I want to invest my time and energy in this? How will it feel to me? Does it connect with the things that are important to me? Is it in alignment with what I want for myself? And just give myself time to think about that and feel that before I can go back and either say, yes, this is something that I'd like to be involved with, or no, this isn't really a fit for me. And so just giving myself that time, the art of the pause, really has helped me a lot.
But I think that's also something that I have this too. I discovered that for myself, and I have the impression that it has to do with being highly sensitive and an empath. I sometimes, depending on how well I'm really grounded in myself or not as well, if I'm in the situation, I don't feel myself. It's too much then that where I feel the other person. And then I may be feeling in the moment, oh yeah, of course I want to do that, and I say yes, and then I go home and I'm like, what was that? What were I thinking? Because I'm now back with more with me. So, and it doesn't happen necessarily on a day where I'm feeling good, but if I'm in a day where I'm maybe a little off, then that could happen even more. And that's where I also got the rule for myself with a lot of things. Also, for example, with big purchases, instead of going all crazy and do it right away, I kind of give myself, I sleep over it, kind of like other people say, give it 24 hours or whatever, but just to actually get back out of this where we're almost brainwashed by whatever, like either by ourselves and our grandiose idea we have right now, or the other person. And and just take a step back and say, oh, actually, how does this fit into all this? And a lot of people have to do that over clutter their schedule because they're taking on too much. That's because they're not stepping back and actually looking whether this even fits with what they're already doing, fits with where they want to go. And so I feel like it has also to do a little bit with being highly sensitive and being this helpful person, want to be the helpful person that is always right and ready to help, or being this perfect person too that can handle this additional thing as well, so
right. Well, that's another one. The Enneagram types is the one which is the perfectionist, and each of the types has aspects of the other types within them. So I know I have those perfectionist tendencies too. But sometimes people are very hesitant when talking about self-awareness because they don't want to know themselves that well, or there's a fear there, and they'd rather do anything but this. It's like, and then they fill their lives so full that they don't possibly have any time to look inside or to really feel because they're so busy. They've just got so much going on. I would encourage anybody just to be willing to learn more about yourself, and you start by just paying attention. What feels good, what doesn't feel good, and then as you start to learn more about yourself, just think about taking it a bit deeper, because it helps in so many areas of your life. I mean, like you were talking about, your specialty is helping people deal with clutter and become organized, and you use astrology to help you understand the person better and to be able to more effectively help them. That's a wonderful thing. There are just make the use of these tools and be willing to learn more about yourself. I really encourage people.
And it's also like that we're not saying that if you're going on the self-discovery trip that you have to either use the Enneagram or astrology. It's starts with you, that you just start figuring out what you are. And then maybe, like the universe works that way sometimes, no, then something comes across your feed on the internet, or maybe in the inbox in your email or on the TV, that sparks your interest, that helps you dig deeper. I mean, this is all it is. The Enneagram is helping us to understand us better, to dig deeper with certain questions or with certain concepts. Astrology is the same thing. There's other ways how it can happen.
Many other ways. And if you find something else that you like, go with that.
Yeah.
These are just our favorite tools and the ones we know more about.
And that's what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. But if something comes along, just I encourage you to look at it and just see if you can learn more. And obviously with astrology, you need your birth date and birth time as well, right? As well as location.
Yeah, birth date, birth time, birth location. So where in the world? Yeah. Without it, it's not accurate. So I could still say something as long as we only have the birthday, and most people know where they are born, but some have trouble finding the time. Some people don't have the exact birth time. There is ways, like there's astrologers that specialize on that when you don't have your birth time, to help you figure out what your birth time could have been. We can do that. But yeah, ideally you have all three: birth date, birth time, birth location.
Well, and it can't really get much more personalized than that, can it? Because, you know, when you have that information, you're creating a chart that's very unique to you.
Yeah, so, I forgot what they're saying, but I think you're so unique for another 20 million years or something. There is not somebody again, or I forgot how many years, but there's not the exact same constellation again than it was for you. Interesting. Yeah. Well,
it all ties into energy. I mean, to me, since energy is my thing, but
that's what all astrology is. It's the energy from the planets,
right,
to where we are here on Earth. Right. It's all energy.
Yeah, everything is energy. There's nothing that isn't. So, well, good. Yeah. This is interesting, and I've learned something new about how astrology can help, which is fascinating. I love learning new stuff too. But do not be afraid of learning more about yourself, I think.
I think that's the key to anything in life that we actually want to achieve.
It really is. Self-awareness is the key to everything. You want to make any kind of change in your life or improve anything in any way, it starts with self-awareness. You have to know yourself. Yeah. Okay, another wonderful Friday chat, Linda. Yes, I love these topics. They're great. I just love our Friday chats. I really like this. Is the highlight of the end of the week for me. Yes, me too. And it's in typical highly sensitive person fashion, we like to dive deep into and we never really discuss beforehand what we're gonna we have the title, or like, this is the theme we're talking about, but I don't know what you're gonna say and you don't know what I'm gonna say. No, we don't have. It's unscripted, I think. Unscripted, and it's a surprise for me and a surprise for you. Yeah. All right, well, thank you for being here, everyone. Weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. I look forward to seeing you next week. Yeah, see you next Friday. Okay. Bye.